This week we're going to talk a little bit about commercial photography. Now, we're kind of video heavy. I got several things we're talking about. I got the persuasive video, and I got the difference between documentary and persuasive for you to look at. So this is going to be kind of quick. I'm not going to, and I've got a couple of videos for you to show, for you to view. On this one, I'm going to go kind of quick. Commercial photography is really, again, it's anything you can think that basically wants to separate you from your money or change your behavior. I mean, you know, the makeup industry is a great example. The fashion industry is a great example of commercial photography at its peak. It's a very fast-paced environment where really, literally, a photographer is shooting all the time to keep up with the demand. But even just in something as makeup, fine, detailed work is really rewarded. A commercial photographer works in a much different environment than, say, an editorial photographer like myself, or even a fine art. While those guys tend to be kind of lone wolf types of photography, commercial photographers usually work with several different people. And there are some commercial photographers, especially locally here in Fresno, who do work independently, but you usually have to have a food designer or a stylist or a couple of assistants just to help you with light in the studio and everything else, like this picture here. Collaboration is a key element. Patience as well. Commercial shoots sometimes can take anywhere from 3 to 4 days, depending on. And of course, then you have to have a lot of technical skill. The key word for commercial photography lots of time is control. You need to control the environment in a variety of different ways as far as light, tone, and texture. Commercial photographers that I know will spend hours just setting up just the right light, getting just the right angle. It's a totally different way of shooting than what I'm used to, which is more spontaneous. Now, I've done commercial photography. I've done it before, but not to a degree that others have. Also in commercial photography, you have illustration like these that are rather dramatic and challenging. And this is one of the newer areas. I mean, we've always had this type of photography, but this is kind of one of the newer areas that is really exciting to look and see what people are coming up with as Photoshop expands our horizons. Key element, lots of times, in photography is making use of the environment and the light and making something work on location, because a lot of commercial photography is done on location, or parts of it are shot in a studio to make it look like it was done on location. Ben & Jerry's is a great example of an advertising campaign using a lot of photography that uses very unusual methodology in how they do it. There's several other ad campaigns that use photography in a very different way. Volkswagen is a key one. They're using primarily video, but they also use stills in very unique ways to get your attention and make you laugh. But using available light, whether it be in a true setup or a more environmentally observation type thing, using existing light sources can create really dramatic effects, and getting used to the idea of how you can make that natural light work for you, or utilizing a more elaborate, changing the light orientation to make things work for you with your digital camera, also creates some exciting examples for digital photography. Lots of times the difference with a commercial as opposed to editorial, with editorial will work with the available light that's there, whereas a commercial guy will bring in extra lights to make it work. Now, those lines get blended. Lots of times there's commercial photography that's passed off as in an editorial vein, like this here that I shot long ago. This is virtually a commercial job right here. And, you know, it's where that journalistic style permeates all levels of different types of photography. But again, industrial photographs like this, like the crop duster and stuff, these are also commercial applications out in the field beyond the studio, where you don't have necessarily all the control perhaps you want, but again, the more high stakes the commercial photography is, the more control they have to have over the environment. Automobiles. Just think of how we picture automobiles in the automotive industry. A tremendous area where commercial photography is used. And this area, with our history of automotive background in the automotive racing industry particularly, so there are lots of different things in commercial photography to consider. There's a lot going on. You have specific purpose on how a subject will be portrayed. In other words, you've got a certain idea, you collaborate with the idea. You may start with a blank palette and actually build a photograph, much like an artist that I've talked about before will do, and then create the light, the mood, and the texture to get the right behavior from the viewer that you are looking for. Commercial photography is always much more involved than it would look. While we may pass it off and say, gee, oh, that's a nice picture, you don't realize it may have taken days for the photographer and his team to capture that effect. Most commercial photographers work with a team. In other words, you are not the lone wolf. Usually on a commercial shoot, you have designers, assistants, all kinds of things working with you. And lastly, you must constantly keep in mind that while you have an audience for your photograph, the main person you have to please in this is the client, and he's the one that signs your check. So you want to make sure that you are doing it correctly and bringing your creativity, because in the commercial realm and almost every other type of photography where you're hired by somebody, they're really hiring you for your creativity. That's really what they're looking for, and how much you can use the technical prowess behind the camera will virtually ensure your success within the business. Stay tuned.